coming today.
Thanks very much for having me.
I wanted our viewers to hear your story about the power of connecting with others and what that can do in life. What's the consequences?
Sure. Well, how long a version of this story would you like?
The 12 to 18 minute version.
Oh, wow. Okay. Great. So, geez. Well, as you know, because you know me a little bit personally, I had a pretty amazing 2012.
Yes.
And networking was certainly an important part of these amazing experiences. And what I believe was really behind all of these amazing experiences, with sort of networking weaved into it, is something I call the power of unexpected connections. And more specifically, what I mean by that is that we never know when we are sitting on a bus, or reading a book in a library, or doing anything, if the person next to us might have a key to unlock something, like unlock a door to your future.
Absolutely.
And it's through learning to be open and really putting yourself out there, in particular in entrepreneurship, that you can allow these unexpected connections into your life. And once that starts to happen and you start to learn how to make that happen, really magical things can happen. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And you did some traveling because of this ability.
I did indeed. I mean, if we've got a few minutes, which
Yes,
it seems like we do, then I can go back to a little over a year ago. I'd say it was the middle of December 2011. I went to a workshop by a gentleman named Craig Valentine, who's a professional speaker who got his claim to fame through Toastmasters.
Oh, right, okay.
He won the 1999 World Championship of public speaking against like 25,000 other people in all these different countries.
That's a big accomplishment.
Big accomplishment, and it puts you in a very good position to start your professional speaking career.
Yes.
So he hosted this workshop, and I had been on a mailing list of another professional speakers for several months, and I read some of her newsletters, but not all of them, and this name kept coming up. And finally I thought, you know what, I should just get to this workshop. Now, it was $500, you know, and I thought, oh, I don't really have the money for this, and I certainly don't have the time, but I'll bet you it'll be good for me. And at that workshop, I learned a number of things about the professional speaking industry, and I got to practice my storytelling skills. And there were about 30 people in the group. It's a 2-day facilitation. And the most important thing that happened there was in meeting some other professionals in the industry.
Yes.
Like, the course itself was totally worthwhile, absolutely worth the investment. But further to that, it was the people who I hooked up with there. In particular, these two women, Susan Lamb Robinson and Mary McCartney. Because I had an inclination at the end of this time, I felt, you know, how can I continue to get some more of this amazing experience and sort of learning from other professionals who are slightly advanced, or some of them considerably advanced in their career in the same field.
Right.
And I said, is there anything we can do? And they said, yeah, we've got this thing called the Speakers Think Tank. And our next meeting is January 28th. Come. And so I went to that meeting, and I again met more people. And it turns out that they had been working on this book for about 1.5 years as a product that this organization, the Speakers Think Tank, was going to put out. And they said, Tony, you know, we saw you speaking at this event, and also we've learned a little bit about you, and actually we're just about finished the book, but we're still accepting a couple more entries. How would you like to write a chapter about inspiration?
Oh, spectacular.
And I thought, wow, absolutely. Please, let me to it. And they said, but you've only got 10 days.
No pressure, but...
No pressure. We're just about finished. If you can get it in 10 days, then we'll take a look at it and perhaps we'll use it. So I thought this was just an incredible opportunity to come out of having just gone to this one event.
Exactly.
And I had to go for it.
Yep.
Now, at that same time, the end of January of last year, I had given my resignation to this job that was eating my soul, basically.
Got it.
Very unhealthy work environment, very unhealthy relationship with kind of a bullying boss. And I'd known for years, actually, that I needed out, but I wasn't in a place psychologically where I wasn't ready yet until then. And this opportunity with the book was kind of the tipping point that said, hey, it's time to take that leap.
Yes.
And so I did, and so I submitted my chapter to them, they reviewed it, and we got it professionally edited, and they put it in the book. So
now you just said something that's important to listeners, is that you got it professionally edited.
That's correct.
I believe it's good to have friends and cousins and neighbors help, but in the end, somebody with years of experience that gets paid to do something is the one to pay attention to.
Absolutely. Always worth the investment to get an expert in any field to do what it is that you need done. A wonderful, well, the queen of networking in Toronto, who you may have heard of, Donna Messer, she has a statement. She says, sell your strengths and buy your weaknesses.
Yes.
And I totally believe in that. So
I agree.
So yeah, so they got me in this book, and I, happen to have a copy of it that I'd like to present to you.
Thank you.
It's called Big Ideas for the Big Stage. And,
very nice.
And it's basically a book on presentation skills.
Okay.
And it offers anybody who wants to improve their presentation skills, or even take a shot at presenting professionally, a number of tools and tips and tricks.
You. Okay.
And that's
I'll
for you.
put a link on the site for people to know where to find it, because
Great.
there's lots of brain power went into it.
Absolutely.
So I respect that. Much to learn, I'm sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
So you went there, you got it edited, it was agreed on, you're in the book,
That's right.
and that led to...
So that led to my first book launch. Meeting with the organizers shortly after that, I said, oh, this is so exciting, I'm so thrilled, I'm going to be a contributing author. When is the book launch? And they said, oh, Tony, we're too busy with our own jobs, our own speaking careers right now, and we actually don't have time to host a book launch, but if you've got some time, as you just left your job, perhaps you could put something together. I said, I'll do it. And so in, I don't know, it was June, I think it was the beginning of June, I hosted the book launch, and I was able to get 12 of the 13 authors to attend. And,
Oh, spectacular.
and it was a fun little event, I don't know, 60 or 65 people. And
Well, that's not that little to me. I've been to lots of events where they expected 50 to 100 and they got 11.
Sure,
So
sure.
I think then there's a certain amount of skill sets that you have that help entice them to come out.
I was working a little bit with social media, which I'm not a huge fan of. I'm much more a fan of personal connection,
Yes,
face to face.
yes.
But I know that social media is it's like computers. They're not going away, and
No.
it's not going away. So fiddled around with that and just told everyone I know, hey, this is an accomplishment. I'd like you to celebrate with me. Come on down.
Great.
So that was wonderful, and I got some work out of that as well.
Oh, better still.
Which was lovely. And then moving on throughout the year, I went to all of the networking events. Those are the ones I went to.
Yes.
I just became kind of a networkaholic. And I would find out about networking events mainly by talking to people. Of course, I was getting spammed with Facebook invites and email invites from people who had taken my business card. But I tended not to pay a great deal of attention to that.
Right.
The events that I eventually found the most value in were the events that I had someone, a colleague or someone who I've done some work with, say, hey, you should come out and check this out.
So you had somebody else had already done the groundwork.
Yeah.
Found it valuable and said, hey, it works for me, it might work for you.
Yeah, and then and would just say, yes, it's $10 or $15, I can get a percentage of that back come income tax day. So yeah, let's go, keep your receipts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So that led, though, to meet some other interesting people.
Yeah.
And there's some travel involved, if I remember the story correctly.
There is some, sorry, I'll get to the traveling, yeah.
Sure.
So part of this whole transitional process was creativity.
Yes.
And a friend who I did some rock climbing with said, hey, I want to do a little creative problem solving with you if you'd like to be my client. And I said, absolutely. And he introduced me to Tim Herson.
Oh, yes.
And Tim Herson is the founder of a creativity conference in Toronto called Mind Camp.
Yes.
And he said, come on down, you're coming, aren't you? Is sort of what he said when we met for the first time, and I didn't really know anything about it, but I went. And eventually I was given the opportunity to present at this conference, which was my first ever conference.
Wow.
To do a workshop. I took it very seriously, and I prepared to the best of my abilities, and I had what I consider to be a successful workshop. In that particular workshop, I was teaching about focus. And I do some juggling with my work, so
Yes.
There's some metaphors that you can tie together, and people come out of it having some new insights, but also occasionally learning how to juggle, which is fun. And there's one fellow in my workshop from South Africa.
Ah.
A good friend and now mentor of mine, actually, Francois Kotsue from South Africa, spoke to me afterwards, and he said, Tony, your workshop really spoke to me, and could we have lunch tomorrow and talk it over after the conference? And I said, yeah, of course, thank you. And I was complimented. And during our lunch the next day, we were just talking over each other with so much excitement about all these things that we learned in the last couple of days
yes.
at this creativity conference. It was amazing, you know. And he was kind of hitting the table. He was like, "Tony, you've got to get to South Africa, man. You've got to find a way to get there." And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! Hold your horses, man." I love the compliments and thank you for seeing the potential in me, but I haven't done a lot of like paid work
Yes.
this year, and so I can't just pick up and go to South Africa. That's a bit of a dream. Maybe next year. And he said, "You know, Tony, when you're all tapped out, like you don't have any more resources or whatever, you don't stop learning or growing. You just have to become more resourceful."
And that's a key, as this theme of this whole site is about being resilient, it's about being resourceful.
Absolutely.
So before this video started, we were sharing books and titles, and we'll list a few at the end of the video.
Great.
Because that feeds the brain.
Yeah, resourceful, and I would also add to that, and I'm sure you'll concur, is being adaptable.
Yes, yes, and that's just not mental flexibility, it's emotional flexibility,
Yeah,
as long as we're all safe.
Yeah, because your circumstances around you are constantly in flux. You know?
Yes.
And so if you're not adaptable, then you know things can be a struggle unnecessarily, I believe.
Yes.
So anyhow, I was inspired by his message, and he said, you know, just contact this guy Cobus Needling, who is the man in charge of the South African creativity conferences. And he said, look, he was at the same conference as you were, but we didn't meet. It's a pretty big conference, and so we didn't see each other. But I had heard about him, and I'd heard about his session as being this profound, amazing session on courage. And so I did. It took me a couple days to get the courage up to email this guy who's kind of a super guru in creativity. I wasn't really expecting a reply, but at least I got the confidence to put it out there.
Exactly.
And he said, no, you can't come to my conference.
No room at the inn?
No room at the inn, no room at the inn. But he didn't say it so harshly. He said, thank you very much for getting in touch and everything, but that his conference had been fully booked for months, and they didn't need presenters, they didn't need any volunteers. But I was welcome to get in contact with this woman who's in charge of another conference happening right before his conference in the same resort, actually.
A pre-conference?
Yeah, well, actually the other conference was a conference for educators.
Okay.
And his conference was more for corporate clients.
Okay.
Business people. And so, of course, I was interested, and I contacted her, and about 5 days later, she got back to me, and the email said, with regard for your application for sponsorship at our conference, we've discussed this, and it has been approved. And I was pretty excited, to say the least, to discover at that time my career was about to take off.
Yes.
Really excited.
Good.
Because in that moment, I didn't know how I was going to pay for the flight. I didn't know how I was going to get to South Africa, but I knew that I would go, and I knew some amazing new, unexpected connections would come to me.
Spectacular.
And I was resourceful. I did some, what's it called? Is it called, I don't want to say crowdsourcing, crowd networking. It's fundraising when you...
Crowdsourcing is one,
crowdsourcing?
That can be one name for it, yes.
Okay, so I did some crowdsourcing, and I'm proud to say I raised $2,800 in 21 days.
Wow.
To pay for my flights and give me a tiny bit of spending money.
Good.
So just reaching out to the people who believe in me,
yes,
and who knew I was putting something together and taking this leap of faith, and people were incredibly generous.
Spectacular.
Yeah. And,
very nice.
And so that got me to South Africa.
Because if you don't ask, you can't get.
That's right.
But by networking, you build a group around you. You reach out further out of your comfort zones to talk to people and say, I have a dream, I have a vision, I have a goal, I have a purpose. Mm-hmm. And you collectively pulled them in, and they're on the T squared, the Tony team?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. And in doing so as well, not only, the benefits to that were not only getting over this pride that used to hold me back. Like, I don't want people to know that I'm not thriving financially right now. I thought, no, if you need help, you have to ask for help.
It's a key component in being resilient, and whether it's financial help or physical help or emotional help or intellectual capacity. Just on the phone with somebody going through a nasty legal issue, they're going, so should I get a second opinion? And I said, well, seems like your lawyer's being a tad too gentle. This is assault issues that happened against you, and why would they bring out a feather duster? Mm-hmm. Beat the other person up legally, but enough's enough. time to bring out the hammer.
Yeah.
And legally say, that's it. So, good for you, because this is exciting. People need to know it's possible.
Oh, it's totally possible. I mean, and it didn't stop there. I mean, the stuff that happened in South Africa was, I mean, it was 3 of the best weeks of my life. You know, I've done my share of traveling, and I mean, I used to be a full-on travel-holic, actually.
Right.
I just follow careers, I just follow jobs wherever they took me around the world,
Right.
in a number of different industries. And which I'm pleased with, I'm happy with, but
Yes.
it's a time in my life when I had, I think, a lot less focus
Right.
about what I could really be doing on this planet.
Yes.
Had great adventures, occasionally made really good money, occasionally didn't make the greatest money, learned a few languages. But now I'm finding with this vision and this sort of destiny that's come to me, a lot more clarity, a lot more focus. And really, a great deal of that comes from networking and being open to listening to the messages of strangers and of friends and of family, but then also taking action.
Yes. Good, because it's the action that pulls it together.
Absolutely.
You said something earlier in the interview where you said it took you 2 days plus to get up the courage to, but you did it in 2 days. You didn't wait 20 weeks, it would have been too late. The window would have been gone.
I think if I waited 3 days, it would have been too late.
Because when they're booking conferences and they're booking experts to come in and present, that window of decision making comes and goes quick.
Yeah.
It comes and goes very quick.
Yeah, and you need to act. And in fact, they didn't have any room for presenters at the proper creativity conference, but because they allowed me to go to the education conference, they also squeezed me in to the creativity conference.
So you got to go there and mix and mingle.
Well, yeah, and not just to mix and mingle either, but I got to present because what do you know? I showed up and there was a cancellation. Somebody had unfortunately a not serious
Yes.
car accident, and so they needed someone to fill a session, and I was right there and thrilled to do it.
Which is wise, because when one travels as a presenter or an expert, you should always be able to present, bring your materials with you.
Yeah, be ready to present like in 5 minutes,
Yep.
wherever you are, and you'll be in good shape. Yeah.
Good, good. Well, I want to thank you for sharing, because I think that networking is a very vital piece of being resilient, whether it's networking for your career, networking for our health, building our community. There's just so many different ways to network.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, thank you very much.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Actually, can I add one more suggestion
Please
to
do.
anyone considering, well, what networking events should I go to, and how do I don't really like networking, I kind of don't feel comfortable talking to strangers. I'd say you have to get over that. Put yourself out there. But also, when going to these networking events, whichever ones you choose, go with an intention. Go there, even if it's not, if you're not at the stage in your career where you even have offerings, if you don't really know exactly what the heck it is you're doing, go there with just a simple intention. I'm going to meet and have at least 5 half-decent 5 or 10 minute conversations with people, as opposed to I'm just going to hand out 30 business cards. That's not really making a connection. That's not really building a relationship. So if you go with the intention, and your intentions may be different depending on who you are, but go to these networking events with intentions, I think you almost certainly are going to get better results.
Good, good. Yeah, I agree. It's powerful when you go with intent. And it's better to meet 3 and connect deeply than have 30 business cards and go, who were these people? Yeah, because if a month later you can't remember any of them, you really didn't network. You just gathered paper.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm guilty of having done both of those methods, but
Yes.
I find that the one where you actually speak to people, quality is much, much more valuable than quantity.
Quantity, yes. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Great to have you here.
Cheers. Great to be here.
Okay.